These two guys have Minnesota sports flowing in their veins. Mackie and Judd on SKOR North and SKORNorth.com.
It's a Reckless Speculation Thursday here. Happy Reckless Speculation Thursday to all who celebrate. Our friend Darren Doogie Wolfson from the 5 Eyewitness News Sports Department. We're going to get to a really interesting name that was floated in connection with the Timberwolves here in just a second, after we shout out our friends at Dennis Kirk and DennisKirk.com. Over 185,000 parts, apparel, and accessories for motorcycles, ATVs, UTVs. It's riding season. And when it's not raining, you can be riding, and you can be getting into all sorts of good things at DennisKirk.com. Also, the first annual Minnesota Garage Build Bike Show, powered by Dennis Kirk, is on Saturday, July 13th from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. at Running Aces Casino and Racetrack. Really fun place, by the way. Old Macadac used to play a lot of spread limit poker games at Running Aces in his heyday. But dozens of custom-built motorcycles, local food trucks, hundreds of dollars in Dennis Kirk gift cards. All details at DennisKirk.com. Bronny James. So Rich Paul threw his name out directly and said the Timberwolves would love to get him in for a workout. There's other teams besides the Lakers. We just don't know what the ownership situation is going to look like, is what he said. So your thoughts on Bronny James plus Timberwolves, Doogie?
All right. Well, hello, gentlemen. Happy Reckless Speculation Thursday. So credit to Rich Paul for a very revealing interview with ESPN about Bronny James. Now, based on Rich's actions going back multiple weeks, he just verbalized earlier this week what the actions have been. That Bronny has only worked out for the Phoenix Suns and Los Angeles Lakers by design. Yes, it is true. The Wolves have tried to get Bronny James in for a workout. They have verbalized to Rich Paul, we are fans of Bronny James. We have picks 27 and 37. It makes sense for your client to come here to Minneapolis to work out. Rich has said, thanks, but no thanks. He is trying to, like every agent, do what's best for his client. He has a good relationship, Rich does, with Tim Connolly, others in the Wolves front office. I am told Rich Paul has a very good relationship with Glen Taylor, Mark Lowry, and Alex Rodriguez, that this is not ownership related, even though there is a quote suggesting that. This is not about who is going to own the team. It's about what is the fastest way for Bronny James to get on the court, and not only fastest way, but where can he be most successful? And if you look at the Wolves the last couple years, they just aren't playing young guys. Now, next season, one of or both Leonard Miller, Josh Minott, okay, right? It might finally be time. Wendell Moore Jr., still some question marks there. But if Bronny James came here, let's say with pick 37, do you know where Bronny James will spend most of next season? In Des Moines with the Iowa Wolves. If he goes to Phoenix, looking at their landscape, you can make the roster. You can sign a 4-year contract. First year, guaranteed. Last 3 years, non-guaranteed. One of the Naz Reid contracts, right? Jalen Noel had that contract here as well. Like if you're a second-round pick, you typically get that contract, or you get a guaranteed 2-way. But like if you're Bronny, you want that 1-year guarantee. Let me show Phoenix what I can do. Then guess what? I'll get that second year guaranteed. I'll best position myself for a second contract. Or, hey, if I'm playing with my dad, that will also work out, right? I think a lot of us think LeBron is going to end up back with the Lakers. But I get it from Rich's standpoint. But, yeah, make no mistake, the Wolves have tried. Like, the Wolves have had 30-plus prospects in town. They have publicly announced a bunch of draft workouts. My understanding is they've also had some guys in where they haven't publicly announced those workouts. So the Wolves have been doing a ton of homework leading into next Wednesday and Thursday.
All due respect to Rich Paul, but do we think he is doing what's best for his client, though? I don't know that Bronny is prepared to play yet in this league. So if he's going to spend, the Wolves, I will say this, from a basketball standpoint right now, basketball purely, I think the Wolves are on a really good track. Like, I think they have smart people. I think they're developing players. Could Chris Finch play young guys more? Absolutely. but they are. But Bronny seems to me to be the type of guy who's going to have to be sort of cultivated and developed correctly. This feels to me like making a lot of assumptions about what your client can do because of his dad. So I don't know that Rich Paul is doing right necessarily by his client. I actually think the Wolves would be a pretty good fit and would probably be very smart with a kid if he has a chance to help him make it like this.
I get the pushback because if you watched Bronny,
right,
who missed a chunk of the season at USC, do you see an NBA player?
Not yet.
Maybe eventually.
Correct.
But like right in this moment, is he ready to play in the NBA?
No.
There are question marks about that. His best path for long-term success, Judd, I agree, would be to spend next year with a team like the Iowa Wolves or a different G League team.
Mm-hmm.
Right coaches, right developmental staff, go that route. And like you can even make a case, like if you're the Wolves, no way, no how are you even taking Bronny James at pick 37? What like on earth suggests of all the prospects that will likely be available at pick 37, why would you go with Bronny James? Like, no, it doesn't make a whole lot of basketball sense. Now, hey, he has a long way to go. The pedigree we know is through the roof, right? He certainly has a chance to make it, right? There are many different pathways to making it, right? Like Amir Coffey. I think about Amir from Hopkins, right? Like a lot of people were like, no, come back to Minnesota for one more year. Why are you leaving early? He knew he wasn't going to get drafted. It was about landing with the right organization, lands with the Clippers. Now it's worked out. He signed a nice second contract. So there are many, many ways to make it, but I get it, Judd. Like if you're Bronny, you say, okay, yeah, like I'll take every workout imaginable. What's the knock? Heck, if anything, I want to get out of my dad's shadow. Why would I want to go play for the Lakers? Okay, Phoenix, yes, I get Phoenix. But you can make a case for 9 other organizations, 10 other organizations, including Minnesota. So, yeah, I understand that, but it's not going to happen, right? Like, we're in that time of the year, 6 days out from the draft. All sorts of promises have been made. Like Trey Alexander is a draft prospect from Creighton who was in town the other day for a workout. I'm told, like, unlikely to be pick 27. Hey, if he goes 27, great. But he has a second-round guarantee, and it's not the Wolves at pick 37. So that's what we're starting to hear. All sorts of different guarantees, whether a guy takes a workout, doesn't take a workout. Like, there's a point guard from USC, Isaiah Collier, who in November, like, you were having discussions about him potentially going number 1. Like, we always knew this 2024 draft class was relatively weak, especially compared to so many other draft classes. So we thought, okay, like this kid, if he has a good year at USC, he's in the mix to go number 1. I just saw a mock draft the other day on ESPN.com, and those guys are plugged in. They're talking to every front office. They have him falling all the way to pick 26, the Washington Wizards. But then I checked, and I'm like, he's not coming here for a workout or hasn't come for a workout. Minimal dialogue doesn't mean the Wolves couldn't take him because they saw him in person enough at USC during the season. So the Wolves, even going back pre-USC, so the Wolves have the book on Collier if he happens to fall to pick 27. But, like, I get it. If you're the Wasserman people who represent Collier, you're going to be like, no. Like, why would we? Like, the optics on that don't look good if my client comes to Minnesota to work out for you and your first pick isn't until pick 27.
Yeah. Hey, just to put a bow on this Bronny James and family discussion, I agree with you. JJ Redick appears on the doorstep of getting that Lakers job. I think a big part of the reason why he will get that job is because of his connection with LeBron James. They do a podcast together. LeBron respects his basketball. It seems like but for like the last 2 or 3 years, the idea has been LeBron James's contract expires. He has an opt-out so that he can potentially go team up with his son and play a year with his son. Is there any chance at all whatsoever that the Timberwolves draft Bronny James and LeBron James thinks about coming to Minnesota on like a veteran's minimum? I have to ask. I think I know the answer.
No, I'm glad you asked, right? Heck, let's recklessly speculate.
It's
That's
Reckless
a possibility.
Speculation Thursday. Okay,
yeah.
we're just throwing it out there.
But it's not going to happen.
Okay.
Like, you're not going to, if you're Tim Connolly, Matt Lloyd, Dell Demps, Sachin Gupta, others in the Wolves front office, you're not going to burn that bridge with Rich Paul. That's where it helps to be one of the power brokers, right? From an agency standpoint, an agent standpoint. And so when Rich says, we're not interested in Minnesota, the Wolves are going to say, okay, we get it. Plus, they like enough other prospects in that mix anyway that it's just not worth doing it, right? Because then you create friction. It's a, tough relationship to patch up. Not that it would be impossible. To me, time heals just about every wound, although with KG, maybe that'll take even more time, right? But time heals many wounds, right? But I don't think that's a road you go down if you're the Wolves to piss off Rich Paul. So, no, I don't foresee that happening.
Okay, fair. Okay, one more Wolves thing here. So you came on 2 days ago, and you reported two main things. One, that there's been no Karl Anthony Towns trade steam to this point that really anyone has heard, and you haven't heard any either. And that the Glen Taylor Mark versus Mark and Alex situation still very much could lean toward Glen going forward, and that Becky is part of this long-term equation. But people on social media and in the YouTube comments and emails that we were getting are irate over the idea that Glen could still be the long-term owner of this franchise. They're mad at you for reporting this, what you're hearing. I saw people on Twitter accusing you of being a Glen Taylor lapdog and only reporting one side of the story here. So the floor is yours if you have any follow-up to our discussion from last Tuesday.
Sure. Glen and I have a professional relationship. We've had one going back many, many years. But to suggest that I'm talking with Glen like daily or even weekly is asinine. Glen's not taking every single call that I make. All right. I also have a working relationship, professional relationship now with Mark Lowry, with others close to Mark who work for Mark. To some extent, Alex Rodriguez. I am laying out what I am given. In fact, and hey, I'm all about being right, not first. But I don't remember anybody suggesting in the moment, way back when, 2 years ago, when Tim Connolly was hired, that it was Mark and Alex who drove that bus. That Glen had nothing to do with the hiring of Tim Connolly. We know how good Tim Connolly is, although I got some blowback after Tuesday's comments about, because I still believe this, that as good as Tim is, he is good. And I laid that out on Tuesday. He is really good. But would I pay him $15 million a year starting next year when he opts out of his contract again next year? No, I wouldn't. Because I think there's a lot of talented people in that front office. To me, you could elevate Matt Lloyd today. The Wolves would be just fine. Sachin Gupta interviewed in 2020 for the Sacramento Kings lead job. There was a reason for that. Matt interviewed in Charlotte a few months ago. Now, Peterson, a lot of league people will tell you he was always the guy in Charlotte. Like, Matt was never getting that job. Then Charlotte tried to hire Matt for a job under Peterson. Matt said no. I'm told he ended up with a raise to stay here in Minnesota. But going back to his time with the Orlando Magic, Matt is highly thought of. But I'm just saying, I've laid out when Mark and Alex have done good things. I'm just laying out as I hear it. And I'm telling you, Phil, how long have I said it? I just don't have the sense, and I don't say this lightly, I don't have the sense that Mark and Alex are going to receive 23 votes from the Board of Governors. I do. I've said this for a while. You can read the 47-page agreement. I'm told there's been nothing changed. You can read it. It's on courtlistener.com. You can find it online. The 47-page agreement, Glen Taylor with Mark Lowry and Alex Rodriguez. I've said, I've gone through it. Why? Who knows? But I've gone through it. Too much, probably, okay? But it's pretty ironclad. Mark and Alex, plus they have phenomenal attorneys. That, Glen does too. But they have phenomenal attorneys, okay? They have a great case when this arbitration hearing takes place later this summer. And by the way, I checked the other day. We're still awaiting a date. There might actually be a date here pretty quick, but we're still looking at closure from an arbitration standpoint, a decision many, many weeks out. Okay, but if that arbitration hearing goes in Mark and Alex's favor, then the Board of Governors has to approve them. I'm just telling you, until I hear otherwise, Phil, I just don't know if they are going to get those 23 votes. My sense is they're not going to get those 23 votes. If that pisses people off, so be it. I appreciate the passion. I really do. There's a lot of people that come up to me. Heck, more people come up to me now, Phil, referencing what we do compared to what I do on TV, right? That might just be a state of where
it's semantics.
Local and national media is
YouTube
right now.
Is pretty much TV at this point.
Yes, it is. Correct, right? But more people recognize me from this compared to having been on Channel 5 and Channel 9 before that and Channel 4 also going back darn near 20 years. And that's fine, right? So I appreciate all the passion. I appreciate all the feedback. But like to suggest I'm some sort of Glen Taylor lapdog, no. I'm just laying out what I sense, what I hear from many, many people. Do I admire? Do I appreciate Glen's candor, his honesty, his openness? Giving me 30 minutes on a podcast. There's not many owners in professional sports who do that. Okay? So I appreciate that. But do I also not going back many, many years, the Joe Smith illegal contract, Glenn thinking that Target Center is a legit arena, right? More so in the near term here.
David
right?
Kahn.
There's a lot of things I've knocked Glenn for. Yeah. Listening to David Stern, hiring David Kahn, right? There's a lot of things. Giving Tom Thibodeau full power. Yes, it made sense to hire him as coach, but to give him full authority, there were some question marks about that. Although that day, I don't remember a lot of people saying, whoa, what are the Wolves doing hiring Tom Thibodeau?
There's a photo of me and Judd with Tibbs on our show.
I loved it that
day.
day.
Great.
That's a great one.
We got Tom Thibodeau.
Yeah.
But you know what, Dukes?
Hiring, people that closely, right? We've heard the country club mentality, all that, right? We've discussed all that. Glen Taylor has his flaws. We know that, all right? But I still believe, from everything I can gather, if you're thinking about the Wolves running this thing back, being a second apron team, luxury tax, I'm just telling you what I'm hearing, what I sense. You're better off if you're a Wolves fan with the Taylor family in charge compared to Mark and Alex. Doesn't mean that Mark and Alex can't figure it out. Maybe Michael Bloomberg is more than a check writer, wants to be more involved. Who knows? There's any number of possibilities as we play this thing out the next handful of weeks, months, maybe beyond that if Mark and Alex ultimately do prevail. But I'm just saying, if you want this thing to be run back, that you feel like the Wolves are knocking on the door of a championship, and I get it. When you're a Final Four team, you have home court advantage in the Western Conference Finals, you should feel like, yes, we are that close. Let's run this thing back. Let's go win the championship 1 year from now. June of 2025, we're hoisting the Larry O'Brien Trophy at Target Center, that the Wolves are NBA champions. I'm just saying, if you're a Wolves fan, my sense is you're better off with Glenn being in charge compared to Mark and Alex.
I think we need to actually, as long as this is going to last, and it might last for who knows how long and how many months, I think we need to issue a trigger warning regarding this segment and the Wolves. And here it is, okay? So we provide a ton of analysis and opinions, right? And we recklessly speculate. But Darren, where you're different is like you also come with knowledge, and we'll talk about things and you'll vet those. The Board of Governors things is perfect because I think that there were or were a lot of people that said, oh, okay, arbitration hearing, decision made, new owner or Glenn back in place, right? That's not, no, this is a boys club. There's a $1 billion boys club. The boys club can say, you won your arbitration, but screw you. You don't get the team. And I think the wording is very simple. We will continue to recklessly speculate, analyze, give opinions, but oftentimes you are reporting things. So like people can't get mad. We don't bring you on to just completely guess. So I think it's very important that the viewer, that's right, the viewer on our television show, comprehends that you are, yes, you will add analysis, but like your Wolves things, which by the way, have at times been frighteningly spot on when people have not been going down certain paths, going down to where this all started. a lot of that is stuff that you are trying to talk to people on background about. So that's the warning, is that you are not coming on and have just decided today, Glen Taylor's my friend. I got a note. On Tuesday, you talked about the building, right? And Glen thinks it's fine. And I guess I looked like I wanted to jump through the screen and strangle you, because that drives me crazy.
And it should. It should drive you, Wolves fans.
But
Target Center is a bottom 3 arena.
Yes,
it just is. It's time for a new arena.
But I didn't debate you because you're reporting that. Like, you're not saying, hey, Judd, Target Center's great. You're reporting that. So the fact that I'll
debate Doogie on how Glenn feels about the arena. Let's go right now. Come on.
So the fact that I was pissed off, though, would have done no good to stop you from reporting. Like,
Correct.
I wanted to hear what you said. So I think
that gets lost in translation.
A journalism
at times,
class,
I'm reporting.
Just a little bit of a J school lesson here. Don't shoot the messenger for actually having the message, which is what we want, which is part of what makes you so valuable to us.
Yes, and along the way, I am going to piss some people off. Yeah. A lot of people don't want to hear the truth. I think that's one issue with media now. It seems like so many people now are working for the team.
Yes.
But it gets jaded, it gets lost. Like, people think, okay, like those people are just regular reporters. That's the way it's supposed to be. No, if you're drawing a paycheck from the team, you work for the team, you have the best interest of the team at all times in mind. You're not going to write or report on stuff that could be, portrayed as controversial, right? Or negative. That's not me. I don't work for any of these teams. On a personal level, I really, really like Mark Lowry. I do. I think he's a good dude. Alex Rodriguez, still trying to figure that out, but I even said this 2 years ago, and I'll reiterate it now. I think Mark is such a good guy, and I've heard a lot of good things about Mark, that I will almost defer to Mark's judgment bringing on A-Rod as a partner. Mm-hmm. That A-Rod has had a transformation, that the A-Rod we think of 10 years ago isn't the A-Rod of today. And I think Mark has something to do with that. I don't know A-Rod particularly well, all right? But I'm just saying, like, everything I've heard about Mark going back to April of 2021 is thumbs up. I have no problem. I think people think I have a problem if somehow Mark and Alex are the majority owners in 4 months. No, fantastic. I think that would be great, especially now with Bloomberg a part of the group. You've got the former Google CEO a part of the group. You've got some money people there, right? That have a lot more money than certainly Alex and likely Mark. That's fine, all right? But this has been a wonky process the entire time. I tried to lay that out. There were so many people, June of 21, July of 21, December of 21, throughout 22, throughout most of 23, into 24, thinking, no problem, Mark and Alex, they've got this thing. Clearly they don't. And I'm not sure they ever did. And I tried to just lay out the evidence. I tried to say, this has been a weird process. So that's where I stand. But yes, I think people just mix up at times, what I'm reporting. Yeah, don't shoot the messenger. Versus at times I am opining. I'm offering opinion. Okay, so I'll make this clear. Target Center stinks. It's time for a new arena, all right? So Glenn and I disagree on that. To me, instantly, I get it. It's not going to happen next season, but to me, it's been years overdue. It's time for a new arena. It just is, okay? So Glenn and I don't agree on that. We have not seen eye to eye on everything, right? I'd love to see the KG relationship patched up. And I get it. I don't know if we'll ever hear what Flip exactly promised KG. What did Flip then tell Glenn? What was Glenn aware of? But maybe just Glenn, just be the bigger person here. Patch that up. Whatever that looks like, right? KG, ambassador for the team, maybe even give him a sliver of ownership, 0.00 whatever. He can say he had a sliver of ownership. And I get it's easier said than done, but I'm just saying, I'd like Glenn to figure out that relationship, that Glenn can be the bigger man, right? So Glenn and I don't agree on everything. We don't. And I'm telling you, I'm not talking to him every day. I'm not. But I do correspond with a lot of people who are close to Glenn on a regular basis. And I'm just telling you, everything I can lay out is the Wolves are better positioned with the Taylor family, Glenn Becky running things versus the alternative, at least in the short term. I still think maybe it's a third party when we're thinking 2, 3, 4 years from now. You know, if Glenn is still here, hopefully he is, right? 83 years old, though. We get it. Okay? Like, no guarantees day by day when you're 83. And yeah, he has a succession plan in mind. But I'm just wondering if he's not here 5 years from now, let's say, would it make more sense for some sort of third party, right? Whoever that is, or whoever those people are, to come in and think about the long-term viability of this franchise 20 years out.
Yeah. So we will do a dive into the scoop bag here for just a brief moment after we shout out our friends at Burnsville Heating and Air. They are hiring, all right? So maybe the ownership situation doesn't go your way and you're looking for a job. Or maybe you're a recent high school graduate, or you're just looking for a career change. Burnsville Heating and Air is hiring for a variety of positions on their rapidly growing team. They're offering a $2,000 sign-up, up to a $2,000 sign-on bonus. Full-time, year-round work with lots of overtime opportunities all over the Twin Cities so you can work close to home. They offer benefits package that includes a 401k with a 4% employer match, health insurance, dental, life insurance, paid time off. To find out more information, go to burnsvilleheating.com and click careers. That's burnsvilleheating.com and click careers. Also, the Twins, so they're finishing up their current homestand. They will be back home in short order. And you can buy your tickets at twins.com/tickets. 612 Saturdays, where they have $6 beers, $1 snacks, $2 food, and Sunday kids days at the ballpark. It's the best bar also in the Twin Cities for at least for my money. Go to twins.com/tickets to join in on the fun this summer. Doogs, rapid fire scoops here in the last couple minutes. What else do you got for us?
All right, people have asked me, can the Wolves next Wednesday trade their first-round pick? They can day of. I don't need to get into all the minutia of the Stepien rule, but the Wolves can actually move their 24 first-round pick and their 2031 first-round pick if they want to. Doesn't make sense to me when you look at the landscape of the cap situation. To me, you draft somebody at 27, whether it's, a KJ Simpson type from Colorado or a Baylor Shireman or somebody of that ilk, that can maybe give you 8, 10, 12 minutes a game instantly. That doesn't need to spend a whole lot of time in Iowa. That's more like 23, 24 years old. There's a bunch of older prospects in this draft class. Yeah, it's not a great draft class at the top, but I think depth-wise, there's some guys that can be rotation guys. So anyway, that clears up that if the Wolves wanted to, they could. As we look into next week, so draft Wednesday, draft Thursday, Saturday the 29th, the $2 million contract of Josh Minott becomes guaranteed. The Wolves are going to bring back Josh Minott. That's also the last day for them to tender one-year qualifying offers to Luka Garza and Daishawn Nix. Not sure on Nix. Garza, they would like to keep Garza around. So those are some dates to look for in the next week or so. Daniel Oturu, the former Gopher from Cretin-Durham Hall. I don't know if this has been reported, but recently inked a lucrative multi-year extension with a team in Turkey.
Okay.
He's carved out a nice niche.
Carved out.
Overseas.
In Turkey.
Yeah, carved out Turkey. I like it. Yeah. So anyway, good for him. Like, he's making life-changing money over in Turkey. Maybe it didn't work out in the NBA. Again, guys take different paths, right? And for Daniel, it's fantastic. He can take care of his family for a really, really long time. Cash Chavis, point guard from Park Center, who initially committed to Washington. Then Washington has a coaching change, so he decommits. He's still trying to get clearance from the NCAA in terms of qualifying. Then he'll figure out his next home. It won't be the Gophers. The Gophers still have a scholarship to play with. Like, if you're Ben Johnson, you can still go find somebody. But it's not going to be Cash Chavis. Jarvis Omersa, the former Gopher basketball player, remember him? Ran into him the other day at Element Gym in St. Paul. I was with Slink Proper, who's a St. Paul-based boxer who's fighting on ESPN in Miami on June 29th, Saturday the 29th. But Jarvis Omersa was there. He's turning into a professional boxer, so he'll probably make his pro boxing debut sometime in 2025. We're in the very early stages, but really good athlete. He was a good football player in high school and obviously a really good basketball player. Frank Mitchell, Gophers basketball center, transfer from Canisius. I've heard a lot of good things about him. If I had to, I don't know, handicap, I guess, the starting five right now for Ben Johnson's team, you've got Lakai Patterson at point guard. You got Mike Mitchell Jr. at shooting guard. You've got the kid from New Mexico State. I think it's Odukali is how you say his name. He also played at Seton Hall in Pittsburgh. I think he's your starting three. You got Dawson Garcia as your starting four. Then Frank Mitchell right now, I would believe, is your starting five. MLB Draft Combine taking place right now in Phoenix. Sean Johnson down there for the Twins. The Twins have about 15 people down there when you consider from the medical side, plus, a handful of scouts. So they're doing their diligence. The MLB draft is in mid-July. Declan, do you remember where the Twins are picking? Is it like 21, 35? Is it 2 picks in the top 40?
I think that's right. Yeah, that sounds about accurate.
Something like that.
Yeah.
And hey, how about Brooks Lee, the run that Brooks Lee is on? 3 doubles yesterday, all from, wasn't it the right side? Hit a grand slam a couple games ago. I mean, it's when, not if, that he makes his MLB debut with the Twins. And hey, reminder, he told me his back, it's not 100%. So he's learned to play through some discomfort. So anyway, good for Brooks Lee on a nice little run with the St. Paul Saints.
Amen. Darren Doogie Wolfson from the 5 Eyewitness News TV sports department. Great stuff. We'll see you next week, Doogs.
Okay, boys. Take it easy. Appreciate your time.
Minnesota Sports with Mackey and Judd here. See you guys.